Good afternoon, villagers. You're watching Pepper Tree Villa. I'm Arnie, and this is your daily dose of Disney for August 6th, 2019. I hope you're all having a great day. Let's get started with this day in Disney history. So, August 6th, 1961. There was an attraction that opened at Disneyland in Tomorrowland. It is called the Flying Saucers. And this was one of those interesting attractions that was kind of difficult to maneuver. You sat in a flying saucer and all the vehicles floated on a cushion of air, kind of like an air hockey table, and you would try and bump into each other as you floated along this square footage area of about 16,000 square feet. The attraction sat in the space that is now occupied by Space Mountain and the whole complex there, including the Magic Eye Theater. Good afternoon, Donna. How are you doing? Good to have you here. Thank you so much for joining. So the Flying Saucers lasted in Tomorrowland for about 5 years. They never really worked quite right. It was always a very difficult thing to maneuver. Hello, Mike Wheeler. Yeah, I'm just talking about the Flying Saucers right now. Thank you so much for the hint. Appreciate it. So the Flying Saucers closed after 5 years. Hello, Stacy Rogers. Thank you for being here. So after 5 years, they closed, and mainly because in 1966, one, the attraction just wasn't working too well. It spent a lot of downtime because of how it was constructed. And then two, they were about to close everything down to start a remodel, a complete rehab of Tomorrowland. And then that was 1966. And then in 1967, we got a brand new Tomorrowland. The concept, I'm sure, was great, but it never quite worked. However, John Lasseter, when he was in charge at Disney, hey, Patrick, Zippity Doodad, thank you for joining. Glad to have you here. So John Lasseter was in charge very high up in Disney for quite a long time. During that time, Cars Land was being developed. Was that Pam's fan that just joined? Thank you. Cars Land was being developed, and he, as a kid, went to Disneyland and went on the Flying Saucers. He wanted to see if they could bring it back, and they did. They did Luigi's Flying Tires, and it was part of Cars Land, along with Mater's Junkyard Jamboree and Radiator Springs Racers. So the new land got 3 attractions, and unfortunately the Flying Tires just never quite worked right. In fact, there were some injuries. I myself experienced seeing someone fall. The tires were inflated in such a way that you had to step away from the tires so that you didn't fall, and unfortunately a lot of people did. So they shut it down. Now they've got the Rollickin' Roadsters, which is actually a very cool attraction. It's a trackless. Pam's fam, hi Donna, hashtag Team Donna. Yes, absolutely. Hi D Hazel, thank you for joining. So the Rollickin' Roadsters is a trackless design. Very cool attraction. So if you ever get to California Adventure, give it a try. You won't be disappointed. It's a fun ride. In 1965, August 6th, yeah, everyone's saying hi to each other. Thank you so much. Glad everyone can get together and say hi. So great moments with Mr. Lincoln. Oh, good. Thank you, Zip. Great Moments with Mr. Lincoln had been already showing to the crowds at Disneyland. And it was also playing currently at the New York World's Fair. So how did they do that? They built a new Lincoln and they put it in. Okay, D, we'll be here. See you soon. So the original attraction was still showcased at the State of Illinois Pavilion at the New York World's Fair, and that original figure was still there in New York. But Mickey Sightings, hi, thank you for being here. It was still in New York, but they had a new improved duplicate that they installed at Disneyland, and it amazed guests there at Disneyland in 1965. Okay, here's a weird one. In 1970, this was during the whole period of hippies and and so forth. And we had an interesting situation at Disneyland. On this day in 1970, 750 hippies and radical yippies got into Disneyland, and they took over Fort Wilderness on Tom Sawyer Island. They raised a Viet Cong flag and passed out reefers to some of the guests there in the park. Later on, they marched down Main Street and they sang a song changing the lyrics of Zippity Doo Dah to things about Ho Chi Minh and that they were going to win. It was a very bizarre incident, but it was just at that time. And as the hippies were marching down Main Street, some of the more conservative guests that were there in the park started singing America the Beautiful, trying to drown them out. And the whole thing heated up. It was a bad confrontation, and finally Alice was summoned to the park. Now, I say Alice, that's actually a code word that they use at Disneyland. I don't know if they use the same term in the Magic Kingdom or any of the other parks in Walt Disney World, but Alice, when you hear Alice is in the park at Disneyland, that means Anaheim Police Department is on property. So you don't want to be around when Alice is in the park. But they showed up there in the park in full riot gear. They started pouring around from all over backstage, and they started arresting people. They averted a riot at Disneyland. Dick Nunes, who was the, let me see if I've got it here in my notes. He was the vice president of operations at that time, Dick Nunes. And he shut down the park at 7:10 in the evening. Of course, Disneyland at that time was most likely open until 1 a.m., so everything was cut short that day. But for many years after that, Disneyland had a selective dress code at the park, and occasionally they would not let people that were deemed long-haired hippies. So yeah, that was a very weird time in history. But it's about the only time you see a security force that's ever made a full-blown appearance like that at the park in Disneyland. They've never had another possible riot situation like that. So that was 1970. Very weird time. In 1999, the thriller The Sixth Sense was distributed by Disney, Buena Vista Pictures. And of course, that was the movie that starred Haley Joel Osment and Bruce Willis. And that film actually went on to become the highest grossing live action film to date for the Disney company. Pretty cool. In 2003, they released another movie, and that was Freaky Friday. This version starred Jamie Lee Curtis and Lindsay Lohan. It was a remake of the 1976 movie that starred... Hi, Zachary. Hi, Michael. Thank you for joining. The 1976 comedy starred... was it Jodie Foster? Oh, thank you, Donna. Thank you for posting that. That's our address. Thank you. It was about a mother and daughter who switched personalities. It's an interesting concept. I liked the 76 films. The 2003 remake wasn't bad either, but there was another one that I still haven't seen, and I guess it was a made-for-TV version of it, and it was aired in 1995. So I've never seen that version, so I can't compare it to the other two. So that was in 2003. On August 6, 2009, it was announced that two young sisters from Santa Clarita, California. If you've heard of the Santa Clarita Diet on Netflix, it's an actual city just north of Los Angeles. It's actually home of Six Flags Magic Mountain. It's in that vicinity. So these two daughters won a contest on radio station KLOS in 2009. So those two girls with their parents got to spend the night inside the Haunted Mansion at Disneyland. And that was to celebrate the 40th anniversary in 2009. They won the contest because they received the most votes on their, I guess, on the KLOS website. So they were able to vote who they liked best, the general public. And they sang Happy Birthday with a dog barking in the background. So they got to sleep in the Haunted Mansion. Yeah, Pam, I think it would be really cool to sleep in the Haunted Mansion overnight. Although I don't know that I'd get much sleep. I'd probably just want to look around. But they probably wouldn't let me look around. So, okay, next story. In 2010, let's go to Europe for this one. And it's not Disneyland Paris. We're talking about the Disney Magic. Hi, Amy at AJC Magic TV. Thanks for joining. Appreciate you being here. In 2010, while sailing from Gibraltar to Barcelona, the Disney Magic rescued 18 people aboard a small boat that had lost power. At 3:45 in the morning, the Magic received an SOS call stating that a nearby ship had heard screams in the water. Mike Wheeler, I totally agree with you. It would be a wonderful thing to do. You're just dying to go, right? Yeah, nice little pun there. Thanks, Mike. So this ship, they heard screams in the water. The Magic started rescue operations and found 18 Algerians who had been lost at sea for 4 to 5 days. So their small boat had lost power. They were in the water. It was a desperate situation, but the Magic saved their lives. 18. That's quite a bit. And then finally, in 2011, this has to do with California Adventure. They were currently going through a full-on remodel of what had been called Sunshine Plaza. It was being converted into an area called Buena Vista Street, more keeping in lines with something like Main Street USA, except that Buena Vista Street referred to Southern California in the condition that Walt found it when he moved to California in the early 20s. So it's pretty cool. The design of the land is breathtaking. We love Buena Vista Street. Anyway, before it was Buena Vista Street, Sunshine Plaza had an area that had a train. And this train was in front of a couple of buildings. It acted as the doorway into the Burbank Ice Cream Shop and the Bakersfield Bakery. Disney removed the train. Rather than just demolishing it, they actually physically removed it from the park and donated it to the Western Pacific Railroad Museum in Portola, California. The cab was part of the California Zephyr train, and now it has become part of the museum's Zephyr Project collection. Portola is kind of close to Reno, Nevada. That's where Doug's parents live in northern Nevada there. So there's at some point when Doug and I might actually go visit the former train that was there. PTV, I was glad I was able to share that story with you about the Disney dollars. Thank you so much, Mike. Yes, Disney. There's a Disney dollar story that Mike shared with me, and I'll go ahead and share that at another time. But it's a really cool story. Anyway, this train is now at the Western Pacific Railroad Museum, and so we want to do that. We want to go see the train. I just saw someone mention that the Haunted Mansion at Disneyland had someone dump the ashes of a loved one inside the attraction. That actually happens more often than you'd think. And the unfortunate thing is that when that happens, they have to shut down the entire attraction and a full cleansing of the attraction has to happen. Disney does not allow people to deposit loved ones' remains or cremains inside attractions or actually on property anywhere. They don't want that. So if someone happens to do that, it's cleaned up and the ashes are thrown away. You don't want that to happen. Hi, Jasmine's Entertaining. Thank you for joining. So on that note, I am about to close the broadcast. But before that, let me go ahead and tell you what's on tonight on the Disney YouTube network. Starting at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific, Mickey Sightings will be broadcasting on their channel. And then following that, at 7:30 Eastern Time, 4:30 Pacific, Jim with More Sunshine Please will doing his weekly broadcast of Disney Talk and his chat checks. Then at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, Walt on Mouse Talk will be hosting his show Mouse Madness. And finally, to close the evening, Miguel and Daniela will be doing their weekly Disney Talk Tuesdays on A Disney Life for Me. That's going to be tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific time. So it's a full night of entertainment on the Disney YouTube network. Everyone, thank you so much for spending this time with me. I've been Arnie, and this has been your daily dose of Disney. Now let me go ahead and plug my channel. Today we dropped a video. Life with Ben is now streaming on our channel. Episode 11 shows Ben learning how to cook macaroni and cheese. My niece Megan graciously and patiently worked with Ben in the kitchen. Now, I haven't seen the video myself. I will wait to see that with Doug this evening, but I'm sure it's going to be a fun evening with video for us, because there's a lot to watch on the Disney YouTube network. And then we also have, of course, Life with Ben on Pepper Tree Villa. Oh, Mickey Sightings, thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed the video. So I'll be enjoying it myself. That's about it for today. I really appreciate this time that you've spent with me. Oh, Pam, the macaroni and cheese looked amazing. Oh, good. Glad to hear that. Yeah, I can't wait to see it. The picture that's in the thumbnail advertising the video, that's all I've seen of the macaroni and cheese. Now, I must say, my niece is a very good cook. So, Mike Wheeler, you must be a big fan of a specific show. First, you have to fold in the cheese. There is a show out on Netflix called Schitt's Creek that Doug, Ben, and I are big fans of. So if you haven't seen that one, that's a fun show. There is an episode, and Doug and I are going to be recreating an enchilada meal eventually, and posting that here on our channel as well, where we're going to be mimicking that scene from that show. So, but in the meantime, it's the mac and cheese that Ben made. So, I guess that is it. So don't forget, yes, all those shows. Oh, it's going to be comparing Finding Nemo and Finding Dory tonight. That's going to be on Disney Talk News. Okay, thank you so much. Appreciate that. Hi, Happy Lux. Thank you. Thank you for joining from Luxembourg today. I appreciate that. So that is my daily dose of Disney. And I thank you so much for joining me today. It's been a fun time. I'm doing very well. Happy Lux. Great to see you here. Oh, Pam, I forgot to tell you. Yes, the book, Pam sent us a book in the mail, and we will be doing a mail call video about opening that, along with any other things that we receive in the next week. So remember, our address is Pepper Tree Villa, 1155 C Arnold Drive, Suite 504, Martinez, California, 94553. Thank you so much for being here today, and I appreciate all your love and support. We can't do it without you, the villagers. Again, thank you so much. Have a magical evening, and have a great, big, beautiful tomorrow. Bye, everyone.